Hi, my name is Dr. Liz. I'm a board-certified pediatrician, speaker, consultant, and author of 2 books, You Are Not a Bad Parent, and Spark, A Pediatrician's Guide to Rebuilding Trust, Restoring Connection, and Igniting Youth Potential. And what I've been seeing in my work with families is that the landscape of teen relationships has changed dramatically, and parents need a roadmap to navigate it. Relationships now often begin and develop entirely on digital devices. Teens can form deep emotional bonds without parents ever seeing the person, hearing their voice, or understanding the intensity of the connection. And what makes this especially challenging is that when parents talk to their children, they communicate in ways which unintentionally push them away and cause them to shut down and stop sharing altogether. My work helps parents understand that their greatest influence doesn't come from controlling their teens' relationships. It comes from strengthening the relationship they already have with their teenager. When teens feel seen, heard, and understood, they tend to turn to their parents for guidance even in the most vulnerable moments. So how has teen dating changed? Well, it's changed a lot. The biggest difference is that relationships can now develop almost entirely outside of a parent's awareness. In the past, parents would meet the person in person. They'd see them at school events or when they came to the house. Teen relationships don't start in the hallways anymore. They start in DMs, on FaceTime, through group chats. And emotional intimacy can build before a parent even knows someone exists. And because everything moves so much faster online, the emotional intensity builds quickly. And parents often don't realize how serious the relationship is until their teen is already deep into it. So the question becomes, how do we keep them safe in a world that's so much different from the one we grew up in? And of course, dating worries you. You want them to feel safe. You want your kids protected. You want them making good choices. But here's what matters even more than who they're dating. It's whether they're still talking to you about it. Because once they stop talking, you're no longer part of how they're thinking things through. And this is why communication between parents and teenagers is more important than ever. Not to monitor, but to stay connected. Parents don't need to control the relationship. You need to stay in relationship with your teenager. So if your teen tells you they're dating someone, what should you do? First, pause, breathe. If they told you, it's a sign of trust. Instead of launching into, who's this? How old are they? Where did you meet? Try this instead. What do you like about them? How did you meet? Curiosity strengthens connection and fear shuts it down. You don't need to control every decision they make. You want your voice in their head when they're making it. You want them thinking, what would my mom say? What would my dad say? What would Dr. Liz tell me? That only happens when they feel safe talking to you. That's the goal, not control, connection. When my daughter first started showing interest in boys, I was terrified. My instinct was to protect, which quickly turned into lecturing, warning, trying to control the conversation. And she shut down. That moment forced me to shift. And I realized if I wanted her to trust me, I had to become someone she could talk to, not someone she had to hide from. And that shift, my shift, changed everything. She didn't come to me because she had to. She started coming to me because she felt safe. And the biggest mistake adults make is reacting out of fear. When we lead with connection, they're more likely to listen to us. When we interrogate, they tend to retreat. And when we get curious, teens tend to be more open. You still get to be the parent. You still set the boundaries. But before you move into rules and consequences, pause long enough to understand what's going on with them. So now let's talk about safety. Yes, the teenage brain is still developing until about the age of 25. They still need guidance, but guidance works best when it's collaborative. Talk about boundaries early, role play situations. Create a code word that they can text you with if they need help. No questions asked. One mother told me that her daughter called her from a party when things didn't feel safe. She trusted her mom. That is protection. Teens don't shut parents out because they have relationships. They shut parents out because they don't feel safe talking about them. You can say something like, "Oh, he really sounds interesting," or "They really sound interesting. I would love to meet him sometime. Can you introduce us?" So, how do you talk about safety, sex, and boundaries? These conversations shouldn't be a one-time, one-and-done conversation. They should happen gradually over time. When you start early and speak openly, these topics become part of normal conversation rather than something that only comes up in moments of fear. How can parents help teens through heartbreak? Teen heartbreak is real heartbreak. Give them permission to feel. As parents, we often jump in and try to fix things right away, but be present with them. You can say something just as simple as, "I know you're hurting and I'm here for you." Share your stories, not as lectures, but as open, honest conversation. You want your voice to be what they hear in their head when they have to make those choices. The goal is not to manage their relationships. The goal is to become someone they trust inside their relationships. So how can you keep your teens safe without pushing them away? Stay calm, stay curious, and stay present. Teens don't need perfect parents. They need emotionally available ones. A mother once came to me about her daughter who was shutting down after a divorce. Her daughter was disengaged from school, pulling away from friends, and very angry. The mother tried everything, but the shift didn't happen when she tried harder to fix things. It happened when she started listening more and reacting less. When the mom became available to listen and just be present with her daughter, things changed. Over time, her daughter began moving toward her instead of away. Connection is rebuilt when we let go of control, which is hard, and lead with understanding. So, what's one of the most important things that you should remember as a parent? Remember, your relationship with your teen is your greatest source of influence. You don't have to understand everything in their world, but when they know they're seen, they're heard, and they're loved without judgment, they'll come to you even in the most vulnerable moments. And that connection is what protects them the most. Remember, connection is the protection. This is why I created the SPARK framework. SPARK stands for support, presence, authenticity, responsiveness, and knowing. And it's a practical roadmap and a framework for rebuilding trust and restoring connection. You can find that in my book and on my website. Because when young people feel seen, heard, and valued, behavior shifts, trust strengthens, families grow stronger. This isn't just about dating, it's about transforming how we relate to young people at home, in schools, and in communities. Connection changes everything. So if this talk resonated with you, you can download the free Spark Connection Framework from my website. You can find my book, Spark, on Amazon to get deeper tools, and subscribe here if you want to be part of a growing community committed to rebuilding trust with young people. You don't have to control every part of their world. You just have to stay connected to it.